Hi folks, welcome to Economic Observations. My name is Chris. Thank you so much for tuning in again, and my apologies for having been 2 weeks away without posting a video. I am in my new studio now, and we have been working over the past 2 weeks, painting it, finishing, putting in floorboards, buying some cabinets, and ordering some stuff online, so I can be in my own space now to provide this content without any distractions and other noises that go on in my basement. So anyway, welcome. Last week I received a package of 29 new pieces of Tanzanian art. You can see some behind me. We sell it to raise money for our foundation. They are truly beautiful, and if you're interested in seeing what we have, just drop me a comment and I gladly will. They are one-of-a-kind pieces. They come in small, medium, and large. Anyway, let's get to it. Unemployment numbers came out this morning. Another 745,000 first-time unemployed. Yes, folks, 745,000 newly unemployed, on top of the 845,000 and the 796,000 and the 800 and the 900 and blah, blah, blah for the past 50 weeks. 50 weeks. And there's no letting up. Job reports came out yesterday. They said 117,000 new jobs were created in February. There was only 49,000 jobs created in January. We are negative over 10 million jobs year over year since last February. 10 million jobs. So where does that leave us? And who exactly is getting laid off? I mean, restaurant workers, entertainment, retail, we all know that that has been going on for a long time. I just went by Best Buy on Saturday. I just happened to go there. And I got there at 4:50 on Saturday. And what I encountered was truly shocking. All the employees were filing out one by one, everyone giving each other hugs, and all saying their final goodbye as I watched them lock the door for the very last time. Yes, that's right. The Best Buy in Brockton at the Westgate Mall closed down on Saturday. I hadn't been there in 2.5 years, so I guess I'm part of the blame. I guess we buy everything online now. Anyway, the closest Best Buy to me now is, 40 minutes away in any direction. It's a sad state of affairs. It's the same mall that the Sears was in that I visited the other day. So where are we bleeding these jobs from? The jobs are not coming from one sector. The jobs are across the board, right? So the Bay Area in San Francisco, furloughs and layoffs. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, laying off 36 teachers. Portland's KATU-TV, laying off 12 people. 2 Louisville area manufacturing plants, laying off 120 people. The Bayfield School District, facing $1 million in deficits. Layoffs are being planned. IUP clerical workers face layoffs in Indiana. Fry's Electronics, stores closing, more layoffs. Best Buy laid off 5,000 full-time workers. Waddell and Reed announces layoffs. In San Clemente, Capistrano's, layoffs to educational staff. Hardsuit Labs, laying off dozens of people. El Paso plans mass layoffs. YMCA lays off hundreds. Shell Petroleum, laying off hundreds, maybe thousands of people. Layoffs announced at the GM Flint engine plant. So here we go again, like Michigan hasn't been hit hard before. While the life science industry remains strong, some big names are laying off a lot of people. Gilead Sciences, said it's laying off 70 of its workers. Amgen announced that they were eliminating hundreds of jobs, most of them in the sales division. GlaxoSmithKline laid off 300 employees last month. Sanofi calls for job cuts also. Vitaris, which is a legacy division of Pfizer, laying off 9,000 workers. Charles Schwab is laying off hundreds of workers. West Burlington in Iowa, the ABB factory begins layoffs in April. Siemens laying off hundreds of people. 4 Ohio companies announce furloughs and layoffs. Point Park University laying off 17 faculty members. College Board laying off dozens of faculty. Students protest. That is in addition to the thousands of public service that have already lost their jobs. Cities and towns across the country have laid off firemen, EMT, police officers, and more. This is what we are up against. You know, people talk about a recovery, but there is no recovery. And I'm afraid it's only going to get worse before it gets better. Let's face it, a lot of these people who lost their jobs have a lot of debt. I watched a show on Frontline. Frontline had a documentary called Two American Families. They followed them from 1991. Both husbands lost their jobs, good union jobs. And it was the struggle of their lives. They had young families. It was a white family with 4 kids and a black family with 5 kids. And it was their struggle and the debt and the inability to pay bills and how they juggled. They would skip the electric bill one month, and the next month they would skip the water bill, and the next month they would skip the heating bill. And every month they would juggle, only to find that one of these utilities would contact them saying they were turning them off if they didn't make payment. They would juggle their bills. Wives going to work, trying to make a go of it. Husbands going back to work for $7 an hour, no benefits. It was demoralizing for these families. And then they caught up with them recently to see where they were. It was enlightening. But 60% of Americans live like that. And there are many more that are indebted. They may have jobs today, but they are just one pink slip away of being just like so many. Jobless, with families and mortgages and credit that they just can't afford anymore. Everyone looks at that monthly payment and looks at what they're earning now and says, sure, I can afford to pay that. I have friends that I spoke to recently, and it seems that the latest rage is refinancing your house and taking whatever equity you have and taking it out in cash. How foolish is that? You buy a house because you need a place to live. You don't buy a house as an ATM machine. And people across the country, if they have a job today, are refinancing at a lower rate, but for an additional 30 years. Right? Maybe they paid down their mortgage for 10 years or 15 years. And now they're going to refinance because the payments are lower, not understanding that they have 15 more years that they have to pay it. Folks, this is not recommended in today's society because everybody is just one easy pink slip away. I am sure that millions of people never thought it could be them. I lost my job. I got laid off in the financial crisis of 2008. I never thought it would be me. But you're just a number. It's not personal. And oftentimes your boss doesn't even make the decision. It comes from way higher up, people who don't even know you. You're just an X in a box. And that's the way the dominoes fall. Just a slight breeze. Don't do it. Hunker down, folks. This is not a time to spend money that you don't have. And let's face it, just because you have equity in your house doesn't mean it's yours to spend. It means you have an asset. Anyway, folks, watch the Frontline video. It was truly fascinating, and it opened my eyes to the way millions of Americans live in the country. It was humbling. And you think the economy is going to get better? In that documentary, you saw George Bush, the elder, talking about the recession in 1991 and how he was going to get out of it. And they were going to provide stimulus and create jobs and do all these great things, giving all these people false hope. And then they heard it from Bill Clinton when there was another recession. And then they heard it from the other George Bush. And then they heard it from Obama. It's bigger than them. You can print all the money in the world. Private sectors tried to get Michigan going again. They failed. This is not a winnable solution, folks. Things are going to get really bad. And you know, for the past 10 years, I spent a lot of time in Tanzania, a land where there's very little credit, a land where there's no stimulus, no PPP, no unemployment benefits, a land where the government doesn't help, like, you know, half of the world. And you can see how they live. They live on less than $1 a day. And if we didn't have the ability, or if we continue to print all this money, where are we going to be? And if you didn't have a line of credit, how much money can you spend in a day? Something to think about. We live in a fake economy. It's a Ponzi scheme. And it's going to come crashing down. You can't live for 52 years printing and spending money we don't have. Think of when the forbearance ends and how many foreclosures are going to hit the market. There are still 2.75 million homes still in forbearance, meaning they haven't paid a mortgage payment in a year. These are long-term unemployed people. Now, folks, hunker down, save your money, don't spend what you don't have. If you do have debt, pay it off. Try and pay off your house if you can. Try and pay off those credit cards. The economy is never going to get better. We have been trying since 1991. Instead, the recessions are just going to come closer and closer and closer. And we're going to have to spend more and more money getting out of it. And who's going to buy our bonds? I don't know. It's just pretty much common sense, folks. Anyway, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. I just want to give you this public service announcement. Again, my apologies for not putting out a video sooner. Thanks again for watching. Stay well. Stay safe. Like this video. Subscribe if you haven't. And we'll talk again soon.